everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Magical Jill and it is just me today. We haven't had a video like that in a while. However, my husband is at a doctor's appointment and I am kind of alone, doing this right before I have to go to work.
Incoming transmission from the future.
This is Jay. I just wanted to say that I wasn't able to be in this video, but Jill asked me to add in a couple of thoughts while I edited it because she is at work right now. And I wanted to say that the whole point of this video is to essentially talk a little bit about how Sailor Moon, while it was originally obviously developed as a manga and then an anime, it is something that appeals worldwide to so many different people, cultures, groups, people of different religious beliefs, sexual orientations, whatever, like skin colors, anything. And we really feel like Sailor Moon is missing a lot of its audience that is not Eastern, not from somewhere like Japan. It's missing a lot of Western audiences, and one of the reasons it's doing that is because it doesn't seem to understand what fans want from it. And even in Japan, it seems like it didn't really get it for a while, where we had a bit of an odd run when it came to Sailor Moon actually getting some respect. Now, obviously nowadays Sailor Moon is a household name in a lot of anime circles, but it never really seemed to understand what the worldwide audience wanted out of the franchise or enjoyed about it. And that's kind of what we wanted to talk about today. That's not to say that the worldwide audience is more important than Japan. It's not. It's just to say that, there are so many people that love this franchise, but it feels like their opinions, their voices, their love of it kind of goes unheard, unfortunately. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I will jump in occasionally when I have something to add, but I already listened to this audio. I think Jill did an amazing job. I just wanted to add that little intro, and I hope you enjoy the video, and congratulations to Jill. It was recently her birthday. She doesn't know I'm putting this in there, but if you want to wish Jill a happy birthday, that will mean a lot to her. So thanks.
But I did want to ask a question of the day real quick. What kind of toy do you wish Sailor Moon would release, or any kind of merch item? What kind of thing do you wish that Sailor Moon would release? That could be like a bag, or a clothing item, or a toy, or a replica, whatever you want. Just tell me down in the comments, because I think it's fun to hear your answers. So first off, I wanted to mention something that is near and dear to my heart. And this is a little bit off script because my husband did help me write this a little bit. But I did kind of want to mention something that I thought of, and it's just, I think that they're missing a huge opportunity on dolls. Like, could you imagine really nicely done, like articulated limbs, beautiful dolls, the quality of like the designer Barbies or the designer Monster High dolls, something like that, but they're Sailor Moon, all of the sailors, and maybe the cats. And I just think that would be super fun. You could also do the villains. I just think that is a huge missed opportunity, because I know many people who are into anime they just absolutely love collecting toys and figures and stuff like that. Since we're in the topic of toys, I did want to say, I like to call it Dick. I know it's pronounced Deek, but in the Deke and Cloverway dub era back then, there was a lot of affordable Sailor Moon toys for younger audiences and less wealthy members, outside of Japan. And most of the collectibles now, they're created almost entirely for just the Japanese audience, and then they export it to countries like America and other countries for a much higher cost, and it kind of feels like the merch these days is just kind of not there. We kind of got a resurgence of merch back during Crystal, and now it's kind of dying down again now that Sailor Moon Cosmos is out and everybody kind of thinks the whole show is over. And it just kind of feels like they could do so much more other than just statues that are kind of expensive and replicas that are extremely expensive. Because I remember, now this might be a fever dream, but I remember when I was very, very young, they made like affordable replica type toys of Sailor Moon, and I think that I had a kaleidoscope wand that actually like made a little bit of music that I would play with as a little kid, and it was like a cheap like piece of plastic, but it was so much fun. And can you imagine what they could do now with making something that looks a little bit more high quality but is on the cheaper end of things for fans to be able to play with, or even younger fans to be able to play with? I just think it'd be fun. Another thing is video games. Now, we've already talked about this in a full-length video. Definitely go check it out because I had a lot to say, but Sailor Moon is so lacking in the video game department. Sailor Moon has received many video games, but almost all of them are lower budget, and they're almost all Japanese exclusive, and they they rely on fan translations in order for non-Japanese audiences to enjoy. In my opinion, the best one is this RPG-like game. I think Another Story is what it's called. I'll put it in here in the editing. But that one is probably the best, in my opinion, because it is completely fan translated and it's really fun and enjoyable, and most of the other games are just kind of puzzle games, and I don't really have anything against puzzle games, but a lot of them just aren't my cup of tea. And then there's some fighting games that you would play like in an arcade sort of thing, which also aren't really my cup of tea. You know, I really wish that they would do like a full-length AAA video game, kind of like how Dragon Ball gets. There are many reasons that they don't do these kinds of merch, you know, that I'm wanting here, like tariffs and taxes, but it does make it so that many fans of Sailor Moon can't afford collectibles or other, like, luxuries around the brand, you know? Because like I said, you know, not every Sailor Moon fan is super rich. It feels like if you're an American fan, then you have to pay a lot more than you would be if you were a Japanese fan for, you know, granted, a lot of really nice high quality items like the proplicas and the statues and, you know, sometimes even like the backpacks. But to be fair, some of the Sailor Moon backpacks that I've bought, and this is coming from an American, they're like $60 to $80 in that kind of price range. And for somebody who's not super wealthy, that's kind of a lot of money. You know, most Sailor Moon fans probably aren't going to be able to do that. And it just kind of makes me sad because I do wish there was a little bit more like budget merch like there was when I was a little kid.
Incoming transmission from the future.
What I find so interesting about this too is that other anime and manga brands seem to know exactly what they're doing. Every time I go to a comic book store, I see Dragon Ball merch. You know, I'll see keychains or I'll see Funko Pops, which are a more cheap, not US based toy, but toy that I would say appeals to the United States a lot more. And Sailor Moon has some of these, but it made them years ago. Like, we're gonna show some of the Funko Pops we have for this. They were printed a long time ago. A lot of them are extremely overpriced at this point if you try and buy them. I don't know why, because these are pretty low quality collectibles. It's just that they're fun little things for your shelf, you know, where they have all of these different characters kind of in a similar chibi style. They're a little bit like Nendoroid vibes, but not nearly the same price tag, and certainly not the same quality, because you can't pose them and stuff. But even if you look at Funko Pops from other brands for ideas, Dragon Ball every other Tuesday, it seems like, is dropping another form for Goku or Vegeta or another outfit or anything. And you look at the Sailor Moon girls, they're wearing a different outfit pretty much every episode of the 90s. And they're very stylish in the crystal version and also in the manga as well. You know, you look at characters that don't get much attention, especially villains. I believe the only villains that ever got Funko Pops were Black Lady, so that tainted version of Usagi, or that corrupted version, I should say Chibiusa, not Usagi, although they technically have the same name. Beryl got one? That's it. Like, where are the other main villains? You don't have Queen Nehelania, you don't have the Wise Man, you don't have Galaxia, you don't have any of these characters really. And this is like a super cheap, easy collectible thing that lots of fans love to get and love to interact with and have on their shelf. You know, you don't have minor villains like the Amazon Trio or the Amazoness Quartet. So it's weird to me to see like Dragon Ball, and that's the one I always go to because I think they're so good at appealing to a worldwide audience while still making something good. I think Akira Toriyama, you know, was very amazing at taking fan criticism, feedback, all of these things during his lifetime. And compared to a lot of other mangaka, I think he was a legend at listening, you know, and at wanting those stories, those products, all those things to be the best for everyone. It's unfortunate because you look at what they've made and what's available, and there's not very much of it compared to other manga and anime that are popular, like Dragon Ball or even Yu-Gi-Oh!, Attack on Titan. Like, these have all done a much better job of understanding that they have appeal outside of just Japan and at least pretending to care about it. It doesn't really seem like Sailor Moon as a property cares much about any fans that are not in Japan. Pretty much all the Japanese stuff is the highest quality and the most affordable, and everything else is like a tertiary thing that's barely produced, or if it is, it's super overcharged to send to other nations.
But anyway, that's a cheaper toy that they could definitely do. They could do reprints of Funko Pops. They could do crystal Funko Pops instead of just the original. And it's just such a shame because there you go, more Funko Pops. People can buy those. They're not super expensive. So, you know, I think that would be a really good way to be able to distribute more Sailor Moon merch for people who love Sailor Moon who are Western audiences, because it kind of feels like us Western audiences, especially us poorer Western audiences, get really forgotten. Another solution to this issue would be to seek out official collaborations with brands that operate outside of Japan, like Lego. So can you imagine Sailor Moon Lego sets? Right? We got tons of Harry Potter Lego sets, we've got tons of Disney Lego sets, we've got tons of anything you can think of Lego sets. Imagine Sailor Moon. It would fly off the shelves. The Animal Crossing Lego sets flew off the shelves. You know, like, those cutesy things, those, like, Japanese type things. Because Animal Crossing is another thing that's not super Western. It got brought to America by Nintendo and stuff, but it's made by, I think, Japanese people. And, like, it has Legos, it has toys in America, it has, like, so much merch distributed here, and it's super popular. Do the same with Sailor Moon. While other anime have been made fairly accessible and popular, and printed or reprinted very often, Sailor Moon receives limited printings in America and other countries. Like, there are affordable reprints at Walmart of most of the 90s seasons, but Crystal is much harder to find. It was on Right Stuff Anime for a long time, but then Right Stuff got bought out by Crunchyroll, and I don't think they ever restocked the seasons of Sailor Moon Crystal, and there have never been any official releases of the physical versions of the movies because they're owned basically just by Netflix. So there's another thing you could easily do. Reprint the seasons of the 90s anime. Reprint the Crystal timeline. Print the movies, you know, like, send them out to places and have the American English dub on there. There you go. That's another amazing way that they could be doing more merch here, but nobody wants to, I guess. You know, and speaking of the movies, they refuse to print the physical copies of certain Sailor Moon movies in America and other European countries, you know, like Eternal and Cosmos, which I think really loses revenue for them because they made, like, really greedy deals with companies like Netflix instead of making decisions in the interest of the fans, you know? Like, they cared more about making their thing be on Netflix and not get a physical release than they cared about the fans who really wanted to collect this show. And I guarantee you that people would have bought the physical. Here's another thing. Sailor V. This came before Sailor Moon. Nobody, it's very debated on if it's canon, like, as a prequel to Sailor Moon or not. But that manga gets, like, nothing. It gets no merch. You know, superhero stories are extremely popular in the West. And despite this, there seems to be a fear when it comes to adapting Sailor V, which is a superhero origin story about Sailor Venus, aka Minako. This would be an extremely easy adaptation that would appeal widely to a lot of the Western audiences. Just like we've seen My Hero Academia and other superhero adjacent or warrior type animes and mangas, they do very well in the West, and I don't understand why there seems no interest in making more Sailor V, you know, like, adapt it to an anime, make Sailor V merch. I think one of the only things that you can find that is like a Sailor V merch is the figure arts thing, like where she has like a figure arts. I think there's a couple other things, but it's not super easy to find things that are based on Sailor V, like that manga, you know? So long story short, I really do think that there's a lot of missed opportunities for Sailor Moon to be appealing more to Western fans and to be able to bring a lot more merch and, to be honest, get a lot more money from us. It makes me really sad that they don't do this kind of thing. Sometimes it feels like Sailor Moon fans in general are just completely forgotten. You know, we were basically spoiled when we got Crystal and the Cosmos and Eternal movies, you know, because we haven't gotten anything in so long, you know? It's like being starved of your favorite thing, and it's very sad. So anyway, I hope you all liked this video very much. I do have a really awesome shop called cosmobunny.shop where I'm posting a lot of really cool stuff on there, and my husband is always really good at explaining it, but since he's not here, I'll kind of try my best. I make resin pieces with transformative art in them, you know, so I use like recycled comic books and recycled manga that I got for very cheap because they were being thrown away because they were damaged, and I transform them into resin pieces like coasters and keychains and trays for your home, and then I also make really awesome handmade jewelry. So I hope you guys go check that out and also check out my other videos, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!